It's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today, Stephen Maciejewski. Stephen, for many of you, is a longtime friend, and for some of you, a first-time new friend. So Stephen has just recently come back from Vietnam and China looking for unknown Gesneriad, and you found them, right? So we look forward to seeing some of it. You were looking for begonias in particular?
Yeah.
Begonias, so it should be exciting to see some of his efforts that have recently come to fruition. And without further ado, I introduce Stephen.
Thank you.
That was a lot of big words.
I can sit maybe. What? Okay, a little advertisement before we start. I'm also involved with the Philadelphia Flower Show, and we're always looking for Gesneriad judges. So if you're interested in coming to the Philly Flower Show, I'll send around a sign-up sheet if you're a Gesneriad judge. And also if you're interested in a future trip to China to find Gesneriads or begonias, give me your name. We're thinking about a trip maybe in the springtime. So maybe we'll start there. Like your shirt. I got one like that. So thank you for inviting me and to share my enthusiasm for begonias, Gesneriads, conservation, travel, China, food, culture. It's hard to compress. This is from a trip in 2017. I gave it at the National Convention. As Claire said, I just got back on the 20th of November from 5 weeks, which is a really long time, exploring for plants, and had a lot of interesting, it's going to be a great program. But these are the images from 2017. And if you're interested, you should sign up that sheet and come on a future trip. I've never done I've done like 5 group trips to find Gesneriads, and I'm working on doing a begonia trip. And I've been to China about 7 times now. So on with the show. Oh, maybe lights? So we're going to start with a wedding. The guy, let's see, can I do that? No, it doesn't work. Well, okay, the guy getting married is Hoshin. A lot of you guys know him. He's been to maybe 5 Gesneriad conventions. He came there as a student. He's gotten some grants, and now he has his PhD, and he's a professor. And now he will be sending, he sent a student last year. He will be sending maybe 2 students this year. So we're really good friends. I helped him get a job at the Academy of Natural Sciences in Philadelphia. He bought his engagement ring for his wife Rue at Tiffany's in Philadelphia. It's a fun story. He went there and he said, I'm a poor botanist from China and I'm getting married and I want to get a ring. They said, we have the perfect ring for you. The store's been there for 25 years and they had this ring there from the beginning, and Americans consider it old-fashioned, but it's very elegant. And they said, we would like to just get rid of it. We're going to give you the best deal. And he bought it. And it was a perfect ring. So she was quite happy with it. So the image on the right, the variegated begonia, ginsenensis. We'll see and hear more about that later. And the begonia in the bottom was what I thought was a new begonia I had discovered. Many people thought that. And then on the right, it's an old caves where people were buried. You can see the cable in the coffin like 600 years ago, and I thought, wouldn't it be great to be buried among friends? So here, it's just a taste of what you'll see in the program. I always do a dedication, and it's dedicated to my 2 live-in terrorists, Avalanche and Blizzard, Flame Point, Siamese Cat. So I have a problem with clutter like a lot of plant people do, and these cats have been very good because they love to watch things fall off of the table and break. So they're helping me out with my problem. And so I went there in March after the Philadelphia Flower Show, and we usually have 2 or 3 storms. I don't know why, it's the curse of the Philly Flower Show, so.
Snow follows us up every year we go. They say it's going to snow, and we run from Philly to New York with snow following us. It's horrifying.
Yeah. So I hope it's not too bad this year. I remember one year Karen was coming and she had like 2 feet of snow, sent me a picture of her car completely covered. But so it's going from snow to Shanghai, 84, so it's a great change. And so just some basic information, we flew into Shanghai, Pudong. They have 2 airports and they're connected by subways. It takes 2 hours on the subway to get from one airport to the other. And so this was on April 14th, 2017. And the first trip cost about $2,200. Of that, $300 goes as a donation to the Gesneriad Conservation Center of China. And then we had another trip with Hoshin, and that cost about $1,000. So we flew in, you can see on the right Shanghai, and then if you move a little bit to the left, there's Guiyang, and then Guilin, and Hefei is up near Shanghai. So we kind of moved around a bit. We always go to Guilin. Train stations are really huge, gigantic, but we had Hoshin students meet us. So it's nice having a guy with a sign. And I also happened to meet Bill and Winston, who were joining us. And his students were into herpetology, so I thought I would brand them with a Philadelphia shirt, the Don't Tread on Me snake shirt. And here's the wedding party. And then there we are. And they took us out the next day and walk around in Hefei and see some of the local monuments. This is Moon Bridge. And the ancestral home at Ennui, and I don't go to Starbucks, but they have a Starbucks Hefei, and they gave me a cup. I thought it would be hard taking a piece of ceramic back home, but it survived. And put us to work next day. Bill gave a talk at the university, and then I also gave a talk and giving out pencils we had left over from the convention to honor the 500th birthday of Conrad Gesner. And also gave them an original Gesner print. You know, Conrad Gesner is the namesake of our family, Gesneriaceae. And these are people from the department at Ennui University. So then our first night, Guiyang, beautiful hotel we were staying at, and Leonard and I wanted to go out and get a bottle of wine. Some people didn't speak English, they kind of pointed the way. We bought the bottle, came back to this area, and we started talking to them. And so we were using our phones, using WeChat, which will translate English into Chinese and Chinese into English. So we were communicating with our phones. We had a great time. And the list of people, there's Miss Wei in the front, and then Fu, who's been on trips. There's Wallace, there's Irina, Bill, Winston, Betsy Gottschall, and Wen Fang. There's myself, Leonard's there, and Professor Wei, who came here originally in 2011, and Shin. So then we're anxious to go out into the field and start collecting. This is a Shan-Yu-Go scenic area. It's really antsy to find plants and beautiful scenery. And then you have to figure out, when you go hunting with the camera and the phone, how many pictures do you take before you let the other person in to do it? A little competition, a little pushing, and then we finally worked it out. And we found this one begonia, and trying to figure out what it is. Grows around Guangxi in South China. And we found more begonias, Cavalierii. This grows from China to Vietnam on limestone. It was named for the French botanist, Julien Cavalier. He is a famous botanist. He had about 250 plants named for him. I have a lot of work to do. I only have one plant, and maybe a genera. And then some Gesneriads at Paraborea, and the conservation status is unknown. The flower is from Wenfang. You know, if you go to a botanic garden, they put the best out for people to see, but when you're going exploring in the wild, you don't know what state the plants are going to be in. Sometimes we found plants completely dry.
Excuse me, Stephen, is that all limestone, that white stuff?
Yeah, yeah, it's growing on limestone. And then we went to another botanic garden, Guizhou, and this is where we're opening up the second branch of the Gesneriad Conservation Center of China. It's Professor Wei and Professor Zhou Xin, and with our new plaque. And here I am giving some gifts to them. I think the begonia and the Gesneriad calendar. And then they put me to work. They wanted to lecture on the beginning of the Gesneriad Conservation Center of China, how it started. Professor Wei and I are the co-founders, and we just, when I was in there, I was at Shanghai, and we opened the fifth branch of the Conservation Center. And then we're out for a mandatory group photo shot. And we do the linking of arms. It started years ago, and we continued to do that tradition. And had a little nice walk by the Dragon Wall. And then we're out on day 3 to hit the Malinga Super Gorge. You can walk down there, or you can take this lift, which we did. We always have alternatives on our trips. We don't make it really strenuous for people. We have people in a variety of ages. So you could be easy or rough. If it's rough, we make sure there's an easier tour that day. Just beautiful scenery. And immediately found some plants, hemiboea. This species is widespread. It shows a lot of variation. And the flower is from Wenfang. And some bridal falls. And another beautiful primulina, secundifloria. It's endangered. It has disappeared in its type location, but luckily they did find another location. And the fruit lady with a variety of things to eat. We're always stopping at markets and picking up fruits and snacks for people. And here's our not so shoddy hotel and our beautiful bedroom. So we don't really rough it. John Clark's trips to Ecuador, they're often roughing it, but we don't do that. And day 4, going to Shenzhen, and we're going to visit a botanic garden there too, and out collecting the begonia, palmata, and then this kind of rare Gesneriad, Eliokylo. It's critically endangered. Less than 4 individuals are left. It grows near a village and a burial ground. Then we're out walking the streets at night, getting some photographs, enjoying the lovely night scene. And then day 5, I'll take you day by day. This is Bayes, and this is Xin, who just gave a talk on Petrocodon at the last Gesneriad National Convention, and he was on our trip to Vietnam. So I spent a lot of time with him. He's a researcher there, collecting this boea. And Helenchia, Melancholia, used to be called Charita. Incredible variation on these leaves. It's widespread. Leaves concern the conservation status. And just some nice views. Rest your eyes. I love these craggy mountains, which are a bit dark in here. Sorry about that. And the Red Rose Cave. We're always looking for caves because a lot of Gesneriads and begonias grow at the entrance of caves. We're looking for Petrocosmia martinii, and we found it. And Chu spoke about these Petrocosmias at a convention, I guess, a couple years ago. And we found this Begonia edulis. There's a lot of variation depending on how deep in the cave it is. Sometimes it really looks brilliant metallic blue. It looks like someone spray painted it. It really looks like blue morpho butterflies took root. And then the same plant growing outside is green. And we use this is a good way because we're traveling a lot, taking a lot of photographs. So I always take a shot on my phone of the weather and the location so I can keep track of where everything is, where we are. And when you travel like this, you always have to expect delays, road construction or landslide, and you just have to be patient and go with the flow. Then we went to this Deshway Tianken. It's a collapsed cave. So it used to be all covered, then it fell in, and it has a unique environment below. So there's a cable that runs across the top of one side to the other, and actually someone walked across the cable. I had trouble balancing myself just on the wire on the paving right there. Couldn't imagine someone doing that. But it's otherworldly views. It's really great. And then a lot of switchbacks going back and forth. Now we're going to enter this gigantic cave where Gesneriads grow. And they had some, dramatic lighting. Appreciate the stalactites and stalagmites. So we were working up an appetite, and we stopped for a great lunch. I think the best food in the world is Chinese. We usually eat in a private room with a round table and a lazy Susan, and if there's 10 people, they'll probably order 13 dishes plus soup and rice, and use chopsticks, and you just kind of pick from the main plate and put it on your plate. You don't like load your plate up with food. So it's continuously kind of moving the lazy Susan and picking out something you like. And so we're moving along to Heche. And then we're going to go on the river for a little exploration, going into a cave to the live river. Here's our pole man. Beautiful formations.
That's a limestone, right?
Yeah, And beautiful view. It's wonderful, just like sailing under this. It's very smooth. And you see a lot of plants growing on the side. We all want the driver to go over so we can grab something. We found this Lystonotus. It's least concern, the conservation status, and the flowers by Wenfang. And this beautiful Paraboea sinensis, again, least concern. And we found this beautiful begonia, Lygianensis, great color variation from leaf to leaf. Grows on the limestone hills, rocky slopes, and in caves where there's penetrating light. Altitude about 100 to 700 meters. And Mawangdong Cave, it's a huge cave. It's like in 5 layers. A couple of the bottom layers are just water running through. And so we're actually some of us are actually going to go climbing down in there because we hear there's a plant there. And you can see the guys way across over there. And so they managed. Bill finally and Winston finally went over there. Wenfang and Shin went there first. And we're looking for this Primulina factionensis. And it's critically endangered. Only 300 individuals grow in 2 caves. And the problem is they're trying to turn these caves into tourist attractions. So when that happens, the plant will disappear. And another cave we went to. And here we are, a group shot of all the people wanting to explore the cave. And this cave is, we've heard, it's a great place to find Primulina tribracteata. And we will find it. And there it is. Lovely flowers from Wenfang. In the original location where it was found, there were less than 20 plants. But luckily they found in another cave some more plants. And with all this development going on, and with climate change, these plants are really endangered. The Chinese have done weather prediction maps for the next 50 years and trying to imagine where these plants are going to move to in the future. They're not in denial. They know it's coming. They're preparing for it. And unknown begonia and Bamiensis. This is from Bama County. They renamed the county Obama County because they were so fond of President Obama. And there's a better picture of it. Beautiful variegation. So we always had good food. Some people like red wine, so we bought a few cases of red wine. And then we carry that in the van with us all the time. So Sin got very good at opening a bottle, and we started timing him. So he became very proficient at doing that. And we always stop for snacks. I love going to markets wherever we go and see what they have. And just walking around at night, taking in the scenes. And day 8, going exploring again. We're headed actually to Bama County. And we're going to the 100 Demons Cave, the Bamo Cave. Huge, and a lot of light you'll see can pour into the cave. And so there's a lot of Gesneriads and Begonias growing there. And you can see how green it is. And you can even rest. They have a magnetic therapy area where you can somehow recharge your magnetic field by being perched there for a while. And here's a famous shot. If you Google this cave, you'll see, I took the picture, but you'll see many pictures just like this, because anyone who goes there loves to take this picture. And here are some of the Gesneriads that we found in the cave. So it's really prolific with the plants. Enough light gets in there. Then we went looking for this Primulina liguriformis. I originally, when I first went there, I met Way at the World Gesneriad Research Conference, and then he invited me to China, and he asked for, he has a thick book, like almost 777 pages. He said, pick out the plants that you have to see. So I gave him a list, and this is one of the plants that I wanted to see. So we went there, we traveled a lot, and we saw this plant. But only myself and Michael Moeller are the only 2 non-Chinese who've ever seen this plant in the wild. So I wanted to take everyone on this group trip to see the plant. And it grows on a waterfall. It's constantly bathed in water. And there's about 3,000 to 5,000 of plants on this water slide. So, but it had rained a lot recently. It was quite wet, very mossy. Everyone was falling down, even Wenfang and Xin, who really have good balance. And you can see Wenfang helping Winston, helping Bill. But since everyone fell at least once, we thought we couldn't go there because it was getting too dangerous. And this is why we want to go there. It's a beautiful plant, beautiful flower. So I still have bragging rights that only Professor Moeller from Edinburgh and myself have seen this plant in the wild. But we got a reward after that. We saw this Primulina liboensis. It's a lot of these plants, conservation status, least concern. And you can see everyone rushing up the hillside to get a picture of it. There's Irina right in front. We made a lot of noise. The locals came out, so I put on my blue UN helmet and introduced myself and explained what we were doing there. And then we went, got on the car, van, driving again, going to Luzhou. It's about 5 hours on the road this time. And we picked up a friend of Wenfang who has a little business, Li Zhuang. He grows and sells Gesneriads and other plants. And then we went out for lunch. It was wonderful, wonderful lunch, one of the best meals. I like the steamed buns shaped as hedgehogs. The food was really good. There was a rowdy table next to us. So, Leonard, who's a very gregarious, friendly guy, went over to start talking to them. And we made friends with them. And they work at the local distillery. And I don't know if they were drinking that day, but they worked there. So they had a lot of booze with them, and we got along quite well. And they gave us so many bottles of really good red wine, and the Baijiu, which is Chinese white wine, which is not really a wine, it's like 40 proof, but it's the national drink. And then we went to the Humanities Art Space, and there was Bill Price and Joe Wei Kwan, who is like an artist, a collector, and a plant grower. And he has a small army of people going out looking for natural wonders. and he turns them into art pieces, and he has a huge collection of plants. And he's good friends with Wen Fang. He hasn't given everything to Wen Fang, only some things. So these are some of his beautiful plants. A new species which hadn't been named, Primulina, and beautiful Tribracteata. I was saying, you better check everyone's pockets when they leave. And this beautiful begonia, Lysinensis, grows on limestone. And I'll show you a couple other ones. Mashanica and Pictorata. This was just discovered like in 2005 by some botanist going to a local market, and they were selling this as a food to cook. And he knew this was different, so he asked, where did you find this? And they took him to it, and then he wrote about it and published it. And here's that variegated plant. Masonii. Gets the name from the German military cross, but is named for the plant hunter Maurice Mason, who died in 1993. And this is only, it was introduced in Singapore in 1952. And Venesis from Taiwan, Japan, and the Philippines. And Palmetto. Beautiful plant, looks a lot better in cultivation than in the wild. And Filiformis.
If they grow on limestone, what soil mix are they using?
I don't know what they're using there, but in the pots generally they use a really coarse mix. They put a lot of ground or not chunky limestone in it. But at the conservation center, in the greenhouses, they have like these huge pools with blocks. So the plants are actually surrounded by water. There's a lot of humidity. And this is part of his private collection. Everyone wanted to take something home, so he enjoyed showing off his plants. And some more of them. Cathayana, it's an early name for China. And these are some of his art objects. He finds pieces and puts them together, and this is how he supports himself. And then we went to Luzhou and went exploring on our own. And we went to this beautiful park, the J-High Park, and we were looking for a special Primulina, Luginensis, which we found. It's again critically endangered. It grows in only 3 locations. One there's 50, in the other plant location there's a lot of plants, 500 to 1,000, and the other location is only about 30 plants. And then we found this beautiful Sclerophylla. So we're all busy taking pictures, being obsessive about seeing these plants for the first time, and the Chinese are just shooting the breeze, taking it easy. And then Wen Fang went to get a dessert for us, so he bought durian. And anyone have durian here?
Yeah.
What'd you think of it?
It tastes good, but it stinks.
Yeah, it does. I tell you a story. In Indonesia, it's forbidden to carry it on a bus, on any public transportation. And one time I had a friend visiting me, and I picked up some frozen durian, and we were going to IKEA to eat, and we were going to have durian like ice cream for dessert. And he said, you can't bring it in the store. He said, there are laws against it. I said, we don't have any laws in America about durian. So, and as it was frozen, as it started to kind of melt, you can really smell it. So there have been various descriptions of it. People say it's a combination of savory, sweet, and creamy all at once. A hint of chives mixed with powdered sugar. And other people say it tastes like diced garlic and caramel pounded into whipped cream.
Oh my God.
And one guy who really didn't like it said it was like deep kissing your grandmother who's been dead for 3 days. fire
It must
chase.
really stink.
And so we're back in Guilin, and you can, there's on the left is Chen, who's into gingers and Wei and Fu and his wife, and Miss Wu and Wallace. No, that's the driver maybe, and then Wallace. And there's Leonard and Winston, other people on the bottom. And then we're looking at the plants at the Conservation Center. Beautiful picture there on Coccinus. And beautiful, he's made, this is one of his hybrids. And there's a Lu Shou who does, it's easy to collect things in the wild and all. So Wei collects and Wenfang collect everything, and then they give it to her, and she has to pot it up and take care of it. So it's a lot of work for her. She's really a good grower. And so this is another one of his hybrids, Zhang's party dress. And he was showing it to us, and the leaf broke off. And like everyone, you can see the body language, and they lurched to get the leaf. And a beautiful Begonia Orsiae. Grows on rock walls, shady places. It's native to the Guangxi area. And just a collection of a lot of plants. They have so many plants, thousands of plants, thousands. So many hoop houses, glass houses, Lexan houses. They're preparing for a flower show in probably 2021. And their flower shows aren't like ours, like which are competitive. Like a botanical garden will put on a whole big flower show from their collection. Jingshiensis, beautiful. I like the hairy edges of the leaf. It grows in Guangxi. Aristophylla. Grows in shady places, limestone forest. Flowers in August to November from south of China and Vietnam. And there's that edulus again. China and Vietnam growing. Podocarpa. Grows around 900 meters in Yunnan, China. Serosa, Yunnan, growing on limestone outcrops in shaded areas, higher elevation like 1,000 to 1,200 meters. And Lantanaria. The fruits look like little lanterns, that's how it got its name. And I like this unknown hairy plant. I like hairy plants. So then I bought a number of original prints, like 400 years old, 500 years old, by Conrad Gesner. So it's our namesake for Gesneriaceae. So I've distributed them to the Gesneriad conservation centers. So I'm giving one to Professor Wei. And here's people who were at the Seattle convention when the Chinese first came. There's Yao, who was the translator, on the left with me, and Yu Shou in the middle, and Chen and Lady Wu, who discovered this plant and did a beautiful drawing of it. And here's behind locked doors, 2 locked doors are the private collection for Wenfang. A lot of really great plants, and some really beautiful plants. That's where he has my Camellia Maciejewski growing there. And then we're having another feast, and with the 2 drivers. We're trying to give the driver a tip, and when you give money in China, you're always supposed to use a red envelope. So I brought a red envelope to give to Hoshin and his wife, but it was a red envelope for getting married. So I had to give them the marriage envelope for the tip. They thought that was a big hoot. You don't do something like that in China, but it was funny. It was like I was going to marry them. So then we left and we flew to Hefei, and we're going to be on the second leg of this rather long trip. We're meeting Hoshin. And so there's Irina, Bill, Wallace, and Betsy. And they put us to work. We have the new metal sign for the opening of maybe the 3rd conservation center at Anhui University. This is the Center for Eastern China. another meal in a nice hotel we were staying at. And then we're going off, and Hoshin's a good tour guide, giving us a lot of information. We're going to Tianshan, Mount Tianshan. Beautiful entrance to the park. And Wame, this is a very popular caged bird in China. Wame means painted eyebrow, so you can see why it got the name. It's a thrush-like bird. Has a beautiful song. And so this was in 17. This is interesting. This is a restaurant, and here's the advertisement to go to the restaurant. It's called the Peace and Love Restaurant. So, kind of funny. And so we're now going up the Kia, all the way up to the mountain, taking the cable car, which would be a lot easier, and getting a great view of the area. And found this beautiful Didymocarpus, photograph from Wenfang. Hard to grow. It doesn't tolerate heat and dry conditions. Just a beautiful bridge. A beech tree grows by this bridge, and the Chinese word for beech tree sounds similar to the word for pass the exams. So all the students come here and burn incense and put a flag when they're going to take an exam. I thought Hoshin was going to get these litters or sedans for us, but he did not. We had to climb up ourselves. I don't know if I would really like to do it. I mean, if it tips over, you can really fall very far. But it's a good way for these guys to exercise. And we saw many temples carved into the rocks. This is Zhongli, who protected the area from some invaders a long time ago. And this is the longevity rock, and they say if you touch the base of this, you'll live to be 100 years old. So Irina and I were quick to touch it. It was just wonderful, all this carving in this red stone rock. Many temples. And here's the south gate, when this used to be like someone's territory. And great views of these endless mountains. And a little town, collection of government buildings and private homes. And there's Sensor Peak. There's a little building on top there. And censors used to burn incense. So I have a collection of these from different angles. Hoshin tried to climb up there on another occasion. There's a lot of Gesneriads actually growing around there. It's a lovely location. We found some boya out there. So then we left this area and we went to another gate to explore the mountain. This is the beginning of this estate, a long time ago during the Ming Dynasty. And you know, he had just gotten married and he didn't have a honeymoon. After he got married, he went with us on this trip. So he kind of had a pre-honeymoon. Several months before this, I was going to Fiji to explore for Satandra. And so he asked if he could join me with his wife for his honeymoon. I said, okay. So I was meeting a friend, so the four of us kind of palled around. And so I have a lot of connections with him. So he brought this cake. It's made from rice and sugar. Very sweet, but very tasty. And at this old gatehouse. And then we walk on the other side, and we're kind of confronted by the Ariocaris Maciejewski. So much of it. There's a whole wall of it. People were amazed at all these flowers, like a weed. And we found it everywhere. And it has a stall. And we were going to another unique area. It was kind of hard. There's not a lot of room to maneuver climbing through these rocks. But they did manage to put steps that were made there ages ago. So we're going to the special site that Hoshin had been working on. And he discovered this Primulina shunengensis. and he's doing a study on it. I believe he's gotten some funds from the Gesneriad Society. These are really small plants, and they only grow in 3 locations, and in one location they were doing some improvement, and a location just like this, and all the soil they just dumped on these plants. They didn't realize they were special. So an interesting story about this, that the guy who originally discovered this plant, Hugo, was a famous botanist, and he published it he discovered it a while ago, but he finally published it in 1989. He is now 86 years old, and it turns out that he is Ho Shin's grandfather-in-law. So his wife's grandfather. So this botanical tradition has been in the family. And here's a close-up of the plant. And I was intrigued by this photograph with the satellite dish, curing pork, and drying out your laundry. Something you don't see here much. So we're going to our new location, Turtle Mountain, and Ho Shin got the tickets. We're very happy about it. This is day 13 of the trip, and so we're going to Gai Fei Mountain. It's very old, created about 135 million years ago. Beautiful outcroppings, and they're named for different creatures, for dogs or animals or parents-in-law. And here's a picture of the group of us. Sorry it's dark, but I think it's the projector. And beautiful waterfalls over the red rocks, and colossal mountains, a Daxia landform. And this is kind of erosion, but people have interpreted it to mean various things. They say it's a monk returning with his apprentices, people traveling on a boat, or farmers working in the field, or woodcutters bringing wood back. So you can just use your imagination. It's a natural mural. This is more understandable. It's called eagle spreading its wings. It kind of, you can see that. And hopefully they made these walkways sturdy. This is pretty steep drops. And this is kind of neat. So there's a series of parade of animals. The first one looks like a rabbit. I can see that. And then a turtle. And then at the back, it's an elephant. Everyone see that? Well, it could be a camel, but I guess a rabbit. There are not a lot of fences and precautions, but they did put the yellow line, and there's a sign saying if you go beyond the yellow line, it's all on you. It's very
in English?
No.
yes, yeah, in Chinglish, yeah. But we don't have any. We have few signs in Chinese here, so they do a pretty good job. They make some very funny mistakes. So you know, when we're doing home improvements, you drive your van or your car to Home Depot, and look at these people do. They have to carry this up all these steps. It's quite arduous. And then when we were leaving, they had a nice like temple-like entrance in the back of the mountain, and you can see there's stairs going up and down, and they're just covered with Gesneriads. So we came back and had another great meal, another feast, and in case you forget what room you're in, and we usually eat in private rooms, so it's even marked on the floor. So if you're kind of walking with your head down, you can still find out where you are, where you should be. And so now we're going to another mountain. It's day 14, the Longhu Mountain. And again, hopefully they built these well, and they'll stand for a while. The Luxi River is running below us. And you can see it's quite steep. There's Winston trying to get a picture. And pretty scary looking, maybe. And then I saw this plant, this begonia. And I thought, oh, that's really beautiful. So, and as I took a lot of pictures, and as I walked further, I saw more of it. And this is, and growing all the way up there and kind of being splashed on by the waterfall.
And it doesn't mind.
And, but, you know, it's growing in a place that's not easily accessible. And there it is, getting a great view. And they're all over the place. And nice close-up of it. So, some people thought this is a new plant. And we saw this at Elephant Trunk Hill. It's a, supposedly the mountain looks like an elephant's body with the trunk drinking from the water. Considered the best majestic example of an elephant from rock in the world. I'll tell you more about, well, so that begonia. So I came and did nothing with it, and it sat on the computer for about a year. And then I wrote to a friend of mine, horticulturist who's into begonias, and Dr. Yuman Shui, who's a botanist, taxonomist on begonias. And he said, oh, it's new. He said, you want to work with me and we'll publish it? And I said, okay, that sounds like a great idea. So my other friend I sent the photo to, he sent it to some of his friends. And Daiqi Tian is a world famous botanist and begonia taxonomist. And he says, oh, I've been working with that plant for 3 years now. I've written part of the paper, but I haven't published it yet. So, and he's tentatively given it a name. But you know, in the botanical world, it doesn't matter what you're working on. Whoever gets it in print first is the one who names it. So Shui wanted us to go ahead and write it up, but I thought, no, this guy who's world famous and has been working on it for 3 years, I'm not going to publish it now. I wouldn't be making friends in the begonia world. So he has since published it. So then we're going to go on the Luxy River on a boat ride. It had been raining all day. I thought it would be canceled, but the last boat was leaving at 5 o'clock, and some people didn't want to go. They thought it would be rough, but the water looked smooth, and actually it was quite smooth, and it was just kind of spitting. So we got on our boat, and it was really like glass. And we saw these beautiful mountains. And then we saw this cable. And this was at the Shangtree Park. And so, you know, years ago, 600 years ago, if you had money, you were hoisted up there and put in one of the caves, and that's where you were buried. So they were playing music, and I didn't realize they were doing a reenactment of the process. So we're really lucky to be there. You can see the casket going up there, being pulled up there, and there it is. I thought, this happened between 1368 and 1644. I mean, wouldn't it be great to be planted among your plant friends? And then we landed and off for another adventure. This is the Chinese say it's Fairy Maiden Rock. This is where all life began. They say this is an exact replica of female anatomy. So, then we went exploring for new plants. There's a beautiful Sijonensis, beautiful Primulina, and a new species of Petricodon that we found. And we didn't get enough. It was getting late. We wanted to go back to this place. And so we went to this cave, and it was closed. So we climbed over the gate to get in there. And then we found this Primulina that Hoshin had been working on. He had gotten a grant from the Gesneriad Society and from the African Violet Society, and also working with Jeremy Keane to do some research on this plant. And so it had been a really long time, maybe 17 days traveling. So we're glad it was coming to an end. We're hitting the bottle. But then people go to bed. We still have to do work processing plants, making herbarium specimens. It's good I took this picture because people had lost track of that begonia, and I had the number for it, and so I gave it to them, and they were able to find it. And here's Hoshin helping out with breakfast the next day. He's wearing a Phillies jacket I gave him a few years ago. I don't know why he likes the Phillies, but he happened to like the Philadelphia Phillies, so I got him this jacket. Then we went back to school, and there was a high school and a university at Herfay. And this is pretty amazing. They knew we were coming, they set it up for us. They put our name in lights, in neon. I never saw the Gesneriad Society in lights before. And they made this lovely poster of me. I was giving a talk on my travels in Vietnam. And so the group of people from Vietnam from maybe 2015. And they had Linda, a teacher there. I sent her my program before. She kind of memorized it, so I didn't even have to wait. As I spoke in English, she would speak in Chinese to the audience. And we had a good crowd there, and I had gifts and t-shirts and pencils and another Conrad print. So I said I had t-shirts and gifts for whoever, any of the students who asked a question. And like a lot of hands went up, and I said, the question has to be in English. All the hands went down. I said, oh, come on, someone try. There was like a long silence, and then someone asked a question in English. It was pretty good English. So I said, come on down, you're getting the t-shirt. So they're very enthusiastic. So we started with the marriage, and what often happens when you end with the marriage, have a baby. So this is a Hoshin's and Rue's baby. So she was born on Christmas Day, and he called me up and he said, oh, I'm a daddy. He said, what should I name her? And he said, we want to give her like an English name. And so I said, what do you love most? And he says, Gesneriads. I said, well, you can't call her Gesner or Gesneriads. I said, but come on, what do you really love most? And he said, Primulinas. I said, you got it, call her Primulina. And they named her Primulina, and they call her Alina for short.
That's good.
So, you know, this was only possible with this trip with the help of so many people, with Wenfang Wei and Hoshin and all the friends that they know that we can visit. And it's great to support these people, support conservation, support research, and the Gesneriad Society has been doing a lot of that. And so you should come on these trips. They're not really difficult, and you can see a lot of great things. And some people, we don't encourage it, but we don't police things. Some people bring things home, certainly seeds they bring home. And so I want to thank all the people from the Gesneriad Society, like Leonard and Betsy, Irina, Bill, Winston Wallace, and all the people in China who helped us out. So thank you. Any questions?
I actually have a question. You mentioned some plants where there would be 300 or 300 individual plants in
Yeah.
one cave or two caves. And it was critically endangered, and between climate change and development and wanting to turn caves into tourist attractions, they could be gone. So what efforts are being made to save those particular plants?
Well, that's why Wei and I started when I first went there in 11, I would see a plant and he says there's 50 of them left. I couldn't believe it, right? And because I knew with birds and mammals, they when they get low in numbers, they count them. I didn't know they did that with plants, but they do that. So that's why I got involved and we created the Gesneriad Conservation Center, and now we have 5 of them in China. And at the main one, they applied for a grant last year to the Gesneriad Society, and they got a grant. And what they're trying to do, they're picking the most endangered plants, and to go out and select a few of them and bring them back, and they're growing them at the Conservation Center. So they hope someday in the future, if they're successful with growing them, that they could reintroduce them. It's because of all the development and everything like that. China, I think, has the most critically endangered number of species. And once they're gone, they're going to be gone. And there's so many more plants to be discovered. I just got back from Vietnam and China for 5 weeks, and we found so many new Gesneriads and Begonias. It's just amazing. I post a lot of things on Facebook, and I was about to post the plants, and they said, don't do that, because plant hunters will get the GPS information from the picture, and they'll go out there and they'll collect the plants. And they're not afraid of like collecting one or two, but when they do that, they usually collect everything.
Those apps iNaturalist for that too? Like those apps iNaturalist where, people go out and take pictures and a GPS tags the plant, these plant owners will use that data to go.
I didn't know that. I was like, I thought it'd be great to post pictures to get people interested, but no, you can't do that.
Yeah, but they get interested in the wrong way,
Yeah.
showing up and then you have no plans.
What I would also say, if you want to support conservation, never buy Chinese medicine, because they use everything. Like this one, this beautiful Begonia picturata, they were using it for medicine, but also to eat. And luckily the guy found it. And I mean, this is just China and Vietnam, but like in Cambodia and Laos, all these other places, they really haven't been extensively explored. So there are many plants that are, just waiting to be found. But we need people going out there looking for them. Yes?
So, do all the begonias grow in limestone type soil?
Not all of them, but primarily most of them do. Yeah. Any other questions?
Are we likely to see any of these species in the U.S. in cultivation?
Begonias
Or any of the more rarer cornelianas we've seen, for example?
Yeah, I mean, you can get a lot of begonia species in the U.S. right now. And the Gesneriad Conservation Center of China just applied for this grant I was talking about, where they're collecting the really rare ones. And what they're going to do, they're going to grow them in the greenhouse, and they're going to collect the seed from them, and they're going to share the seed with the Gesneriad Society. And they don't want to, because they're endangered, they can't, for some bureaucratic rules, they can't share the seed from the wild plants. But if they can grow them in the greenhouse, they can collect that seed and share that with us. And so that would be distributed. That's a great alternative for spreading these plants around. Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This has been a presentation of the Long Island Gesneriad Society, a chapter of the Gesneriad Society. Check us out at longislandgesneriads.org and gesneriadsociety.org.